In the center of Sri Lanka, surrounded by flat jungle plains, stands a rock that looks completely out of place. It rises almost 200 meters straight into the air. There are no mountains around it, no hills nearby, and no natural explanation at first glance for why this one massive stone stands alone. From far away, it almost looks artificial, like a giant structure placed in the middle of the landscape. Now imagine reaching the top of that rock and finding the ruins of a royal palace. More than 1,500 years ago, people carried building materials to the summit by hand. There were no machines, no metal cranes, and no modern roads. Yet at the top, they built pools, gardens, walls, and living spaces. The question is not just how they built it. The real question is why anyone would choose this location at all. This place is Sigiriya. To understand why Sigiriya exists, we need to look at Sri Lanka in the 5th century. At that time, the island was already home to organized cities, irrigation systems, and agricultural networks. The main political and religious center was Anuradhapura, a large and wealthy capital city. Kings ruled from there, supported by reservoirs that controlled water for farming. Control of water meant control of food, and control of food meant control of power. The king ruling at this time was Datusena. He had 2 sons. The rightful heir to the throne was Moggallana. Another son, Kassapa, was not meant to become king. He did not have the same legal claim, but he had ambition and military support. A political conflict formed inside the royal court. Kassapa organized a coup and seized power. His father was imprisoned and the throne was taken. According to historical records, Kassapa later ordered his father's execution. After this, Kassapa technically ruled the kingdom. However, he understood something important. He was not secure. The legitimate heir, Moggallana, escaped the island and was expected to return with an army. Kassapa now had a problem. The capital city of Anuradhapura was large and open. It was not designed to survive an internal war. Defending a traditional city against a determined army would be extremely difficult. Kassapa needed a location that could not easily be attacked. He chose Sigiriya. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to Hidden Lands for more stories from around the world. Sigiriya was perfect for defense. The rock rose vertically from flat land. There were only a few narrow paths that could reach the top. An army could surround it, but could not easily climb it. Anyone approaching would be seen from far away. Instead of simply building a fortress, Kassapa designed an entirely new capital around the rock. Engineers dug large moats around the entrance area and filled them with water. Beyond the moats, they constructed defensive walls. Visitors entering the complex had to follow a controlled path. This path was not random. It forced anyone entering to move slowly and predictably while guards observed from above. The area surrounding the rock became a planned urban space. At the base, they built symmetrical gardens. These gardens were not only decorative, they were engineered water systems. Underground channels moved water from reservoirs into stone pools and fountains. Some fountains still operate today during heavy rain. This shows a sophisticated understanding of water pressure and flow long before modern technology. Stone pathways guided movement toward the rock. Large boulders were incorporated into defensive positions. In certain areas, rocks could be pushed down toward attackers. The entire environment functioned as both a royal residence and a military structure. Halfway up the rock, visitors encounter a long polished wall known today as the mirror wall. The surface was once so smooth and reflective that people could see their own reflection in it. Above this wall are fresco paintings placed directly onto the rock surface. These paintings show female figures holding flowers and trays. Their exact meaning is still debated. They may represent royal attendants, celestial figures, or symbolic images of prosperity and protection. Over the centuries, visitors wrote messages on the mirror wall. Many were poems describing the paintings. Some simply recorded that a person had visited the site. These inscriptions date from about the 7th to 10th centuries. They show that Sigiriya remained culturally important long after it stopped being a royal capital. To reach the summit, visitors pass through a massive stone platform shaped like a lion. Today, only the giant stone paws remain. Originally, a staircase passed through the lion's mouth. This is why Sigiriya is often called Lion Rock. The lion symbol likely represented royal authority and strength. At the top of the rock, archaeologists discovered the remains of the palace complex. Foundations indicate multiple buildings once stood there. A large pool carved directly into the rock collected rainwater. Terraces and platforms formed the king's residence and viewing areas. From this height, the surrounding plains could be seen in every direction. Anyone approaching could be spotted hours in advance. However, the fortress could not solve the political problem. Around the year 495 CE, Moggallana returned with an army to reclaim the throne. The two forces met near Sigiriya. During the battle, Kasapa's elephant reportedly turned unexpectedly. His soldiers believed he was retreating and morale collapsed. The army scattered and Kasapa died shortly afterward. After his death, the capital was moved back to Anuradhapura. Sigiriya quickly lost its political purpose. Without the king, the Sky Palace was no longer necessary. The site was later converted into a Buddhist monastic complex. Monks lived in caves around the rock and used the structures for religious purposes for several centuries. Over time, the jungle slowly covered the gardens and buildings. Paths disappeared, and the site faded from regular use. When European explorers encountered it many centuries later, vegetation had already reclaimed large parts of the complex. Archaeological excavation eventually revealed the full layout of the ancient city. Today, Sigiriya is not just an impressive landmark. It demonstrates advanced planning, engineering, and adaptation to natural terrain. Builders use the environment instead of changing it. They combined political symbolism, defense strategy, and water management into one coordinated design. Sigiriya also shows how a moment of political fear can produce extraordinary construction. Kasapa likely never intended to create a monument for the future. He intended to create safety. Yet his attempt to secure power resulted in one of the most recognizable ancient sites in South Asia. More than 1,500 years later, the rock still stands above the jungle. The palace is gone. The king is gone. The conflict that created it has long ended. But the structure remains as evidence of how human decisions, especially those made under pressure, can reshape the landscape in ways that last far beyond the people who built them. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to Hidden Lands for more stories from around the world. See you in the next one.